Hello and welcome to another day in the life of an indie game developer. My name's Julian and this was my day today. I actually had a good friend, another YouTuber otherwise known as DomPlays, visiting, so we got up nice and early to go conquer a mountain and do some really cool stuff today. So this is my day.
He's trying to kill me, okay, just for the record, this shit went down.
Alright, so Dom's chickened out and doesn't want to come up the mountain.
He's a bitch!
DomPlays in the flesh.
This shit ain't real! This shit ain't real.
These are the beautiful Glasshouse Mountains just north of Brisbane. So Dom, or James, was just visiting Australia for a couple of days. So I thought, why not best to show him Noosa and all the Sunshine Coast and the beaches. So these are the rock pools here at Noosa National Park. Absolutely beautiful. We had a really fun time just swimming and enjoying Australia, enjoying the great weather. So I think he really enjoyed himself. And yeah, it was a pretty cruisy afternoon. This is my pet snake that I adopted from my girlfriend Steph. And yeah, after we fed her, straight into game design. So before I show you my game, I want to actually ask all of you watching what you would like to see in the next coming episodes. So what I have here is this little Photoshop document that I made, basically outlining 4 of the main systems that I've created from scratch myself for the game. I would like you all to actually sort of vote in the comments what you would like to see, whatever one's most popular. I'll do a video on one of these systems in the future. So I'll just quickly go through them now so you can get a bit better idea of what they're actually comprised of. So maybe you'd like to see me talk a bit more about it. So the first one is the building system. This is a very complicated system that took me a long time to create. This was something I actually created this building system myself before starting on this game. I worked on a couple other projects myself where I created this building system for, and I ended up sort of zombieing the building system and changing it to make it work within this game. So this consists of a player controller where the player controller inputs information to a building controller. We also have a full hiding, sort of hide show system like you've seen before, where if a player steps behind a wall, the wall goes opaque, transparent. If you go, and then all of the levels above the player fully turn off so you can see inside the buildings. And this also consists of the UI, so the whole build menu, and then we also have a destroy and modify menu, which also has its own script where you can actually destroy and modify any sort of building part. So that's a pretty interesting system. Very similar to games like Rust, games like Ark. There's a lot of games. It pretty much started with Rust. Rust created this style of building system. That was one of my first inspirations for creating a system like this. And then, like you would have seen in a lot of survival games, even like Fortnite as well, that's the sort of the general basis of this system. And then I've sort of tweaked it and changed it to my liking. So next thing is the quest and dialogue system, which you guys wouldn't have seen before. So this is something I'm going to go through in after this little part where I'm actually going to show you the quest and dialogue system I created. Still a couple little bugs, but this is essentially controlled by an NPC manager. So there's a script on every single NPC. There's UI for a chat window and a quest window. And then there's scriptable objects, which are all the quests are their own scriptable objects. And there's a whole bunch of scripts, which are essentially big arrays, which control all the different conversations and all the different sentences within those conversations. This is I'm pretty proud. I think the system's pretty good. It works perfectly for my game. All of these, every single one of these, I just made up. Like I just made these for what I want. There was no tutorial on a building system that I followed. There was no tutorial on a quest or dialogue system. I didn't buy any assets. These are all just 100% made by me for what I wanted to do. So I just had a plan. I planned it. I did some storyboarding, I created little sort of mind maps and stuff, and then after that I go, okay, yeah, let's make this happen, and then I just sort of made it. But yeah, quest dialogue system is pretty cool, so I'll show you that in a second. The next is the item and weapon system. So this is basically the player's hotbar, which is there's a full script that controls the hotbar. There's a UI that's all the containers for the hotbar. Then we have scriptable objects for all of the items and the weapons in the game. And then we also have the interaction between vendors and then the player. So a crafting table or an actual NPC that sells you a weapon, and how that works with equipping weapons and checking if you have enough components to actually buy that weapon and so on. And the next thing, which is sort of closely tied to weapons and items, is the whole resources and crafting side of the game. So that's controlled by a resource manager that's on the player. Also another script, which is the interaction crafting script, which the weapons and items uses as well. So this is, I just have one script, and then anytime you do any sort of crafting or comparing of items within the game, it always goes to this one script. And then we have UI, which controls all of the resource containers, which you've seen in the inventory of my game. Then we have scriptable objects for all of the different resources in the game. And then we also, actually they're not scriptable objects, they're just scripts. Separate scripts which control all the different resources. And then we have the vendor player actual interaction to do with comparing resources and actually crafting and seeing if the player actually has 5 wood. And then if they do have 5 wood, we deduct that from the inventory, and then we give them, a pickaxe or something. So they're the 4 systems. So please vote in the comments. Just list the title: resources and crafting, items and weapons, quest and dialogue system, and then building system. So whatever one of these systems you'd like to see me completely go through, and I don't know how long the video will be, maybe half an hour, maybe longer, where I'll completely give you a full tutorial of how I made this system, so you can see all the problems with them, you can see all the things I did right, all the things that you might want to copy yourself, all the things you might want to change, all of that. I thought it might be a bit insightful because these 4 systems were by far the hardest for me to create in the game, and these 4 systems take up a huge portion of the game. These are what my game sort of rely on, is these 4 things here. So they're definitely the most important aspects of the game. So this episode's a little bit different. I won't have any speed recordings. I'm just going to catch you all up on where I'm at with the game currently and just go through everything as a bit of a general sort of catch up and show you everything that's going. There's a lot that you haven't seen yet. So there's a lot of new things in this video that you haven't seen that I've been working on in the past week or 2. So I can't wait to show them. I have a lot to catch you up on. So welcome to what is the starting of my game. You've never seen any of this stuff before. This is going to be where you spawn for my game. And you can see it's a beautiful frame rate and everything, and it's actually proper. So what I'm also showing right now is the dialogue system. So basically when you very first enter the game, you walk up to this old man. He'll basically tell you about the island, about the neighborhood, all that sort of thing. I have this full selection system where you can basically go up to NPCs, select them, start conversations with them, talk to them. And there's going to be this full immersive world that's going to be sort of the town, the main town that you come back to. All the NPCs will have quests and tasks you can buy and sell and trade and do all sorts of things. So this will be the first quest. This is the woodcutter. So you just select on him. Some quests auto trigger, some trigger by clicking. So the ones that are part of the main tutorial just auto trigger, so just automatically triggered when I went up to him. And then I can accept the quest, and then it's asking me to collect wood. And then how much wood I collect sort of fills up this bar that pops up. And when I come back with that bar fully filled up with wood, then the quest is completed and I can get whatever rewards from it. So this is basically the dialogue sort of quest system that I made in the past day, in the past week. I finished it just today, but it basically took a couple weeks to sort of finish. And yeah, so we're back into the main world. So it'll essentially be a bridge joining the original sort of build world, your little island, which you've been seeing in the past few episodes, to the town world. So these are essentially they're just going to be different scenes that load in and out, but theoretically they're all part of the same map. And yeah, these are all the, I've still got the same stuff here, so you can still buy and sell items and all that. But what I've really been working on the past week has been the whole conversation dialogue system with all the quests and all that as well. Because you need a whole lot of quests and a whole lot of NPCs that buy and sell, where you can trade with them and you can actually buy different weapons and upgrade weapons. So for example, if I take out like an axe and chop down this tree, this axe that I'm using to chop down the tree has a lot of attributes, and I can change these attributes so it can control how much wood drops when I chop down the tree, how much damage I actually apply to the tree. So when you get further into the game and you gain more resources and do quests and things, you can sell those resources to an NPC to get a better axe that is more effective, that gives you more wood and has different sort of attributes. Some weapons can kill other animals better, some can do other things better. And sort of along with that, what you haven't seen, what you can see right now, is the building system. So there's all this new UI that I created for the building system. I think it looks a lot nicer, a lot more clean. I just sort of tidied it up a lot. So the building, I've spent a bit of time in the past sort of week. So the days leading up to today, I've been working on the building system a lot. It's still a bit buggy, especially, well, the modify, I've basically added modify and deleting to the build system. So now you can modify and actually delete building parts effectively. There's a couple bugs left in it still, which I'll show in a second, but you can see the building system works. I can, play around with these stairs. I can move them in all different locations, and then all the different building parts easily put down. I can put down all the ceilings as well, and the hiding system works too. So if I walk in here, all of the walls will hide as my character goes behind them, and it fully works. There's absolutely no bugs of all that, which is really nice. And yeah, and then the ceilings go back on, or if I go above the ceilings, then they turn on. So all of that works. It's just simply the modify and delete tool. So if I go back into my build menu, then if I click on this, it's just a magnet for now, but I can change the icon. If I hover over them, they're supposed to just light up purple. I've got currently a bug where they stay purple sometimes. But yeah, they're supposed to only go purple when you just hover over it. And then when you click on one of them, that's when it actually brings up the UI. So I click on that now, and then you can see a little build hammer and a little sort of delete symbol. So you hit the delete symbol and the wall destroys. And then I haven't set up the upgrading or modifying yet, but essentially if you hit on that build hammer, then it'll bring up a little menu to change the color of the wood, to upgrade it to stone, to upgrade it to iron, and all sorts of things. So depending on the actual building part that you've clicked on, you'll have different options to modify it and upgrade it. And that can be used for all sorts of things. It can be used as decoration to paint objects different colors and things, or it can be used to actually upgrade objects. So this is the little cave. This is just a temporary little cave scene that I set up. So yeah, just got a couple little stones in here just to show you that everything's like all sort of working together now. This is what I've really been working on the past week, and also just finishing up today is just been trying to get things working and actually get a bit of a game loop, as they call it. So, you know, you actually spawn the game where you're supposed to spawn. I got all the worlds connected and working with each other, and an actual full loop for the game. So one part you also haven't seen is much of the nighttime. So this is the nighttime of the game, and this is where it really shifts from being just a fun, happy sort of base building game into a scary sort of tower defense PvP game. So this is one of the enemies. You guys haven't seen much of these. They're still in progress. I basically just got a very simple sort of wandering, and it works off the nav mesh, sorry, and it's just a very basic sort of wander and chase script. But yeah, these are the enemies. The enemies will basically be these really spooky looking, they won't have pink eyes and they won't have the giant arrows above their head. That's just for me to see what's going on when I'm making the game. But they will be these sort of spooky enemies where you can basically, yeah, if you get within their line of sight and they see you in those sort of light cones, then they'll just chase you down, and they'll come towards you very quickly, and it'll just be really scary. So essentially the game turns into a tower defense game at night, where you're trying to protect your island and try to stay indoors. So either you're indoors basically completely avoiding the enemies, or you're out attacking them and, you know, facing the full force. So back to the spawn island, well, the spawn island is sort of the town island. This is it here. So I really worked pretty hard on making this island, just basically laying it out, doing sort of the footprint for it in the past week. So here you can see this is sort of the main part of the island. I've only really fleshed out these two little sections because that's all I'm focusing on now, is just this little woodcutter's house for that quest, which is essentially the very first quest in the game. And then just this little beach area and a little forest area here. And then also this main sort of spawn point here. And this is going to be the main dude, that sort of guy with the beard. He's going to be the guy that tells you a lot of the main quests and a lot of the main storyline of the game. And then there'll be a big town, there'll be a pirate ship, and there'll be all sorts of different traders and people that you can talk to. The island might get even bigger than that, but it's already a pretty good size at the moment. There'll be plenty of things to do. I definitely don't think there'll be a shortage of quests and all sorts of things, because there'll be all sorts of future quests and future, you know, items that you can buy, and it's just going to add a lot of sort of end game elements. So I don't think there'll be a problem with the scale of the island, just because there will be a lot of replayability within all the different NPCs, because the way you interact with them will change. But yeah, so that's basically it for today's episode. I just wanted to give you a sort of general overlook of where the game's at the moment. Specifically today and this week, I worked a lot on just that questing system and also the dialogue system, which you got a little bit of a look today. But what I showed you just before with the different systems, please write down in the comments what you'd like me to do a more in-depth tutorial on, and I'll love to actually make a longer video with how I actually created those systems. So as always, have an amazing day, everybody. It's been Julian or Flow Graphics here. See ya.